Chris, how are you today?
Doing great. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Really good. It's Friday, so looking forward to the weekend. Interested about this conversation. Obviously, it's a big thing at the moment, country of establishment. I know, obviously, we've been communicating recently about certain clients and certain situations that we've both come across, and also the information in the press, in the news. So yeah, really interested to have this chat and see if this is going to be useful information for a lot of the people that will be listening.
Yeah, I expect throughout the weekend into next week, there's going to be more emails in my inbox, more calls and questions about what to do process-wise, SOP building for getting in touch with. You've got kind of multiple parties you have to reach out to. You might be reaching out to agencies or ministries within the UK government, but also different teams at Amazon, management level and otherwise. So that can be daunting and confusing already from the outset. And the types of answers and messaging that some sellers are getting back from Amazon itself aren't really reducing the confusion. I think that's where we're kind of stuck. Yeah. Some of these people are stuck and don't know where to turn. Some of the misinformation online is concerning me in terms of advice and solutions and suggestions. So I think today talking about this, talking through this in a meaningful way will reduce some of that confusion.
Definitely. Yeah, and hopefully, points people in the right direction. So I think it would be good to kind of start off and we'll both give our understanding of the situation. So I can jump straight in. So essentially, there's been a lot of sellers, Amazon sellers, specifically in the UK, but this is not just kind of the UK. This is other countries where country of establishment has become a kind of a key topic. So by country of establishment, it's one, where are you incorporated, but really where the problem and kind of where all of these issues are occurring with Amazon freezing people's funds is because of where the management of that company actually lies. Now, Amazon as a marketplace in the UK is responsible for collecting and remitting VAT for non-established companies as of January 2021. And now recently, over the last few months, Amazon has been suspending sellers because of this particular issue. We're 2 years on. Well, actually, no, 3 years on. We're 3 years on now, and people are getting suspended. And really, from my perspective and what I've seen, it's all down to the actual country of establishment, and not just where the company is incorporated. You can have a company here in the UK. So you think you're incorporated, you're established here in the UK, but the actual management of that company and the people controlling the company are not here in the UK. Is that also what you're seeing, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's different buckets, and that is what also makes it harder for Amazon. Amazon needs things to be linear and kind of one-to-one relationship when it comes to appeals for releasing funds, appeals for reinstating suspended accounts for a variety of reasons. Once you start introducing multiple other complexities and factors, that's when the messaging starts breaking down, or the internal review and investigative process breaks down. And that's when people start noticing that they're not going to get their money, and they're not sure when they're going to get it or how long it will take to get it. And that's when they start blasting correspondence all over the place. So those buckets really do matter. I am hearing from some businesses that are all ownership is in the UK. Everyone's in the UK. So what you're describing there is a situation which is a little bit more complicated, right? And you've been guiding people through how to handle it if they're not 100% UK based.
Yeah, exactly. So we've kind of broken it down into 3 buckets. You've got sellers who are have a UK company. So all of these cases, they've got a UK company, but being managed from outside of the UK. And then the other bucket is being managed from inside of the UK. And then the other bucket, which is kind of the smaller bucket, is all companies that are managed from the UK, which haven't necessarily gone through the proper paperwork to actually manage that in the eyes of the authorities. Well, obviously, from my perspective, what it seems like, is that Amazon have obviously had some form of system to suspend people, and that hasn't necessarily 100% identified correct cases. Because, well, like you said, Chris, we see a company that is fully managed in the UK, like everyone's in the UK, it's set up completely in the UK, and they have been suspended. So they've been, what I would say, somewhat wrongfully suspended, or wrongfully had their funds frozen because they are actually a UK company. They've got all of the documents. They've actually got everything. It's just obviously within Amazon's system, they've identified them as a potential problem case, so hence freezing fund, which problematic for a huge amount of sellers because having funds frozen, and we're talking significant amount of funds. I actually had some cases where it's not just the UK market funds being frozen, all markets. So in some cases it's like the UK is actually a small market for the seller and their US funds have been frozen. It's like then that causes a whole problem in terms of supply chain. Suddenly you can't pay for the stock. It's a big issue.
Yeah, I've got a client or two who meets that definition right now that we're dealing with, that we're going to be working on today. We're making progress, fortunately, but I think part of the problem is that people who have submitted all the documentation that Amazon requested are asked to submit it again and again and again, as if no one's opening it, no one's reading it. So there's that confusion they could be lifting those people out of this bucket and reducing the number of people they need to review and get back to. But the typical internal confusion, low-level teams dealing with high-level tasks is part of the problem here, akin to an account suspension. This happens within, ASIN and account suspensions all the time too. But in this particular case, these are business owners who could have gotten their funds weeks ago, and Amazon's holding on to it because they say, and if they're approached by the media, media reporters have jumped in on this, and Liz Barkley, the small business commissioner, has been on Sky TV talking about this because these are people who could have been paid a long time ago. Amazon might even respond to government officials or ministry officials in the UK saying, well, we would have given them their money, but we needed all this stuff. And then she's probably replying on their behalf saying, they already gave it to you. You haven't read it. You haven't responded to their message. Oh, okay, here's your money, right? That's what we're starting to see, where it's the internal chaos and confusion within, the VAT processing and appeals processing teams within Amazon that's creating the bottleneck. That's why I was somewhat disheartened. I don't want to inaccurately quote, but I think it was the managing director in the UK said something about, hey, this is a UK government thing. This isn't us. We're not the bottleneck. And that's a failure to understand what the exact bottlenecks are, because they are the appeals process for unfreezing these funds is one of the major bottlenecks. And just quickly, I'll add that Amazon has a long history of sending generic messages to sellers saying, your account's now under review, maybe not even saying why it's under review. We're going to reserve your funds for the next 14 days, the next 28 days. We consistently hear from people here in the US just about US accounts with funds holds. So Amazon has kind of a history of, arbitrarily reserving funds without explanation.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that before. And it's a difficult thing for sellers to manage. Like, it's a potential to kind of really break business. Like, a lot of businesses don't actually have the cash. Like, they're just purely isn't the funds there. They're very on a model of in and out. And yeah, something like this is severely damaging, and it really kind of, feel for the people who are impacted. Particularly the ones who are impacted and are on the, the right side of the fence. They're doing everything they need to be doing. All of the paperwork's there. Everything that they should have done is actually done. And yet they're still getting suspended. And obviously, even if it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and the issue gets solved, like, it's still very financially damaging.
Not everyone can pony up £1 million overnight to cover back. Just somebody drops a message on you. Oh, by the way, you need to pay us back some VAT going back a couple of years by next week. Not everyone can do that. It kind of demonstrates how Amazon sometimes has a disconnect with sellers in terms of how a business is run in 2024. You can't just, not everyone's $1.5 trillion company. You can't just throw a switch and pump £1 million out just because you're making up for some back VAT. What about like a payment plan or some sort of program that they can put into place that gives you a chance to pay it back over time?
Yeah, I know. We have actually seen some of the sellers. So I think actually probably a good thing to do here, because what we're talking about the VAT that is owed, not necessarily not paid. That's the thing. That's what we've got to clarify here. This is not necessarily paying more VAT that people haven't previously paid. It's just essentially it should have been paid in a different way. So if we take a case of a seller that is say based in the US, actually, like that's where their management is located, but they have a UK company, so that's a particular case. Since 2021, Amazon technically should have been collecting the VAT on their behalf for the sales that they made, because the actual country of establishment, although it's incorporated in the UK, is managed outside of the UK. So for tax purposes, it's not technically based in the UK. So Amazon should have been collecting VAT on all the sale until the time that they got blocked. So they might have got blocked a month ago, it might have been 2 months ago, it might have been 3 months ago. But whatever time period that is, Amazon should have been collecting the VAT. Instead, likely the seller might have actually collected it themselves, because Amazon wasn't deducting it, and paid it to the government. So it's like the government is paid. So like in a lot of those cases, and this is what we're seeing, it's not that the government hasn't been paid, it's that it's been paid in the wrong way. And Amazon are obviously now saying, well, we need to collect that VAT, so we are going to freeze your account and then deduct it, or deduct the amount from you. And that amount, been selling £1 million a year, and it's 20% of that over the last 3 years, significant amount. So in those cases, essentially what should have happened is Amazon should have paid it, but the seller paid it instead. But that needs to now be rectified. It's not just a case of, prove you have paid it and then Amazon are off your back. It's just a case of what it looks like at the moment, it needs to switch. The problem that lies for the sellers is that it's not a case of get your money back, then pay it. It's a case of pay it, then get your money back, which cash flow wise is problematic. So, if you are in that bucket, if you're listening and you are in that bucket, like reach out. It's potentially likely that you may have to get some finance. It's a bit difficult to say exactly like how long that would be for, because obviously you need to get the money back from the government, and the government's not always the quickest with giving money back. So that finance could be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, etc. So that not great news. It's not great news for you at all. But obviously businesses need to be aware of what their options are. So if you're in that case, that potentially is one of your options. And that's just the reality. And then moving forwards, Amazon should now start to collect. So like the actual submissions to the government here in the UK would be based on the marketplace, i.e. Amazon collecting and remitting your VAT.
Yeah. And one thing you can do if you're in the UK, reach out to your member of parliament if you need to get in touch with the enterprise ministry to get some assistance from them, because that is the way to do it. If you're reaching out directly to the enterprise minister, then that might fall on deaf ears, but you can communicate with them through your MP. And we've seen people do it. This isn't just a fantasy. People are doing it right now as we're speaking. And that is producing, getting some wheels turning in the right direction and producing some results. I think in November, December, somewhere back there were a couple of reporters kicking around this story. I mentioned the Sky TV spot earlier, but again, I don't want to get the details wrong. I think it was a Guardian reporter that did a story on this. I'll check on that and be available to answer some questions in terms of visibility and trying to make this transparency issue around this topic clearer. Because what I'm seeing, I know for anything Amazon seller related, there's lots of Signal groups and Telegram groups and WhatsApp groups. I'm seeing a lot of misinformation about how to handle this stuff. And people are coming out with wacky ideas for, you know how it is with Amazon. A lot of people say, write to Jeff, the old Jeff at Amazon email, and get it to executive seller relations. You have to understand that you're not just losing time and delaying resolution by taking the wrong path. Sometimes you're actively hurting your odds of resolving it in a week or two versus a month or two when you do those things. So just carefully consider your strategies. Don't base a high-level business decision on a random seller forums post. That's not the way to go about this.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's obviously I understand the urgency that I have with these cases, but don't always just rely on some information you can't actually prove like there's any actually validation behind it. Some people might come up with some good ideas. Some people might have some information that has been validated, but like you said, the majority of information out there won't be. So try and speak to people who experienced it and actually had successful experiences as well. We've had a few cases specifically for we've had two really. So UK based businesses that are managed in the UK, we've managed to get them through the funnel. So we've managed to, they came to us obviously blocked, and then we've managed to get them through the funnel, and now they're back to where they would like to be. So some damage may have been done because of X reasons, the amount had to take loans, etc., but they are where they need to be. And then and we've had some more cases as well where it's a situation where management is based in the UK, but it's not been properly documented yet. So like getting those boxes ticked and then presenting it to Amazon, we've managed to do that and also get people we'll get the frozen funds lifted. That's been really good and really nice, and that's based off of actual real information where we've had success cases.
And of course, any of your clients that have additional questions, I'm happy to answer them. They can email me directly or come through our website. We can provide the information when this gets posted on YouTube and your channels, because this is a huge thing that is impacting businesses extremely negatively, and you don't want to do the wrong steps towards resolution that could set you back. I mean, you're already facing financial setbacks. You don't want to set back your SOP creation, your process on resolving this, because here we are, it's a new month. You don't want this to linger. Amazon has in the past held funds for active sellers for really long periods of time, to the point where people have come to us and said, you know what, we're up against it so badly that we really do need to do some desperate measures in terms of reaching out to high-level executives that aren't in the UK, for example, or aren't in whichever EU country it might be, because the responses are taking so long. And really what that is Amazon doesn't have a process. They're building it, but they're not building it fast enough. Maybe they don't have the right head count. Maybe they're adopting an SOP from another process that's not analogous to one like this. And in the meantime, your money's sitting there, or the pile is growing, right? And they're slow to understand the negative impact that has on a business. So
definitely, I think it's really good information and really insightful. And I just hope people can really kind of take some of this information, create it into kind of actionable steps if you're being impacted. Chris, spot on today. Thank you very much for jumping on and having this conversation. Really, really appreciate it. I'm sure the audience will really appreciate it as well.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome.
Perfect.